All right, business mentor Marissa Levin suggested a segment for us this week on a topic critical to the success of businesses large and small. If you're selling, finding good customers, and if you're buying, reducing cost. Well, Marissa wasn't able to join us today. We've got experts from both sides of this equation. Jack Quarles is the founder of Buying Excellence, a firm that helps organizations improve expense management. And Ian Altman is the founder of Grow My Revenue, where he advises CEOs, partners, and sales executives on growing their revenue.
Indeed.
Guys, you know, when people hear seller, buyer, that seems to, put you on one side and you on the other, and you're kind of adversaries, and instead you got together and you wrote a book.
We did, indeed.
About how to do same-side selling is the title. It'll be out next month. About how to do both better because using almost the same strategy.
It's funny, I had heard a lot about Ian's success in teaching companies how to sell better. I've been on the buying side, advising companies on major purchases for 15 years, and I wanted to take Ian's teaching and sort of see what the other side was up to. I expected to learn some tricks and tactics and ways that he was trying to manipulate the buyers, but what I learned when I heard what Ian was talking about was that he was really teaching his clients very similar things to what I was teaching mine from the buying side. It was all about finding the best value and finding the best fit. And so we put our heads together, and it seemed to be a natural conversation.
So what do you tell people when I have X widget or company or good to sell? What do you tell the people that want to sell it, and what do you tell the people that are looking to buy something?
Well, it's an interesting thing. When I speak to large groups, I always ask them, I'll say, how many people came here today hoping they might sell to someone else who's in the audience? Usually about 15% of the people will fess up and raise their hands. If I tell them to close their eyes, I get a different answer. But then I give them kind of the bad news, which is, so how many people came here today hoping someone else is going to try and sell you something? And no one's hands go up. Because none of us want to feel like we're being sold to. But everyone's got an issue that's important, that they wish they could find someone who could help them solve it. And that's what this is all about, is how do we work together instead of thinking of it as like a death match? How do we look at it more as like putting a puzzle together with two people and recognizing that sometimes we're not the right fit?
So let me try that at the end. How do you teach people to recognize that? Because I think sometimes that people get blinders on when it gets time to try to close a deal. We're going to get this done.
Yep. Well, I'll give you an answer, and then we'll give Jack opportunity for rebuttal. But the idea is this: is that really we're trying to find impact together. It's a term that we use in the book called FIT, find impact together. And the idea is we're trying to determine, is there enough impact that this client has to warrant them making a decision, and are we the best fit to find that? And if we strive to do that, then we're working together to kind of diagnose, is there a problem worth solving, rather than just selling whatever we have. Any rebuttal, Jack?
Well, I think a lot of us walk into a situation where we're buying something, and we find the stereotypical salesperson, right, that says, you walk into a big store and they say, oh, can I help you? And they come over, and what do you answer, Chris? You're right. You kind of back off. And that's because there's a lot of baggage around the buyer-seller relationship. And I think so often we feel like as buyers we've been taken advantage of, and it seems like for sellers that they're playing this numbers game. They just want to get as many leads as possible. So it's really about, instead of going for all the numbers and playing this game, more of solving a puzzle together. And when it works that way, it's so much easier, not just for the seller, but for the buyer too.
So what's the red flag to walk away?
Go ahead.
In terms of walking away from a deal, well, throughout our book, we kind of go through the beginning of even planning the way you sell, to finding the best prospects, and then through the sales process itself and beyond. And there are all these things that we call the adversarial trap that pop up, where all of a sudden you and I are talking like we're solving a problem together, I might be able to help you, and then I say something that throws you off and makes me feel like, well, I'm trying to take advantage of you. That happens throughout the sales process.
Yeah. In most organizations, there aren't a shortage of opportunities. Actually, what happens is businesses spend so much time chasing bad opportunities that when a good one comes along, they don't have the right resources to pay proper attention. So then that customer who would be perfect for them feels underserved, and all of a sudden is underwhelmed with that organization. So most of it is really knowing your pieces, if you will, using the metaphor we use in the book, knowing your puzzle pieces and where you're a good fit, and literally seeking out people that you can have the greatest impact for, rather than just anybody who you might be able to try and sell to.
And are there kind of common sense ways to know that?
I think one example we've seen that happens very frequently is you're in a selling situation as a seller, and the buyer says, well, we need a lower price than that. You're not the lowest bid, and we're looking for the lowest price.
Yeah, and on the price side, it's interesting. I worked with an architectural firm, and they said, well, we want to charge people about $5, and our competitor is charging people about $3 per square foot. Okay, so To them, if it's a $20,000 project, wow, that's a pretty big difference.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. But the space they're designing over the course of the lease is worth $13 million. So over $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, you wouldn't make a bad decision on $13 million. But if you don't take the time to help your client realize that's where it is in the big picture, then all of a sudden it all seems about price of your little piece, and people fail to see the big picture.
Okay. So sometimes it's sitting down and looking down the line, not just at, I need to rent this space. It's, well, what does that mean for 5 years from now when I'm still renting that space at $5 versus $3?
Yeah, and Chris, I can tell you that, and Ian, you know, when you come in as a seller and you say, well, we've got a higher price because we're a premium product, I can tell you that doesn't always work, right? As the buyer, it is about cost. For organizations, that's what it's about. But when the seller comes and says, hey, these are some questions you need to consider because this is the full impact. This is where you'll take on more risk. This is where you have adjacent areas with more expense if you go with somebody else. That's generally very much welcomed by the buyer, and it puts you not only in a position where you're more likely to sell, but you're also seen as a little bit more of a trusted advisor, and again, not just somebody who's trying to sell something.
So some of it is taking that confrontational feel that you know, where people suddenly feel like they're buying a car out of the equation.
That's absolutely it. In fact, there's a concept we talk about, which is entice, disarm, and discover. So first we entice by what we can do. We disarm by acknowledging that we may not be the best fit for them, but we're happy to have a discovery phase where we learn more about their situation to see whether or not we can help. And that way you're seen as someone coming in to help them solve a challenge, not someone just trying to sell something.
Guys, we are out of time. The book, Same Side Selling, it'll be out next month. Thanks for watching. Rebecca Cooper will be back next week.